Okay, hey, welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. Back with another Crucible of War market update. It is Saturday, so that's Crucible of War Day. Crucible of War Day. Every Saturday we'll have an update with the current market prices of Crucible of War. I've got a cool little tracker here if you didn't catch the last video. Just real quick though, thank you to the patrons that make all this kind of possible. Patrons, you will also get sent out at the same time as I post this video a collection tracker that will allow you to manage your collection with all these updated values in that collection tracker. So all you have to do is copy and paste if you've already made your collection, and it will update your prices so you can kind of track the price of your collection. Just a cool thing I want to do. That's for all $3 patrons. Everybody at the entry level of the patron will get all the market updated info. And then thank you to Midtown Merchant, who is another source of information for me on sold listings. So Midtown has, Mitch over at Midtown has sent me all of his sold listings for the week, and I kind of am able to track prices that way. So thanks to Mitch over at Midtown Merchant. He's also given us a discount code, a one-time use code for Just Love 10 that will get you 10% off of any of your orders. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about sealed boxes. First of all, we had an interesting market movement this week in sealed boxes. Kind of at the beginning of the week, or really right after Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we had a spike in the sales of boxes. There was actually a couple boxes sold at the $5.50 range. But then early in the week, stores actually got their last shipment of Crucible of War from distributors. So we actually saw the price of a box dip down in the 350s for a while. But those were kind of quickly gobbled up. And now the market price is right back about $4.50. So currently the lowest on eBay is like $4.90. Let's just switch this to sold listings just to see if anything's updated in the last couple hours. So 428, so one has sold for 489. This one's auction. So 450, 460. That seems to be right around where we are. That is going to be moving up, I think. The last kind of market pressure was released as those stores got their product in from distributors. That being said, we didn't really have any growth since last week in the overall sales of the boxes. So lots of boxes being sold. I know, like I said, all those $350 boxes were gobbled up pretty quick. But that's where we are in that. For legendaries, we saw a 75% increase on legendaries from last week to this week. Some big, huge sales. Arknight Shard sold for $4,500. Cheyenne sold for $1,899. So there is some huge movement in those cards. We had actually two sold on eBay. One was a best offer, and we'll get to that in a minute. But also one just, was sold straight off. So there are plenty of cards moving at these prices. We're going to talk about these best offers here in a minute. But that seems to be where the market is heading towards this. This one might be on a little bit of the high side for Cheyenne. But that was on TCG Player, actually, a sold listing. But on eBay, there was a sold listing at around $1,600, if I'm remembering correctly. So that price should get, and this card actually, Cheyenne was much closer to the shard for a long time. And so I would expect kind of those to potentially start getting closer over time. I don't know. The Tunic didn't really do much this week. And then the 20 Blade Extended Art. This one, man, this got crazy this week. So let me show you this. We're going to break down. This is kind of how I do all the sold listings on eBay. There's actually a website called watchcount.com where you can see what something actually sold for on a true selling price. Click here on eBay. These are all offers that were, they sold because of this best offer. So if you hit sell price on eBay, and then it takes you to this website, and then on your browser, if you open up the page source code, and if you search in the page source code for tax exclusive price, that will give you the price that it actually sold for. So, that's how you kind of search, because, you could list something for $2,000 and accept a best offer price of $1,200, and, it would say best offer accepted, and it just shows you 2,000 with the X through it, kind of like you saw on the shard. So there is, plenty of sold listings at around this range, and I kind of dug through those source codes, and it seems like the price is around that $540 price. But there seems to be a huge market pressure on that card specifically. It's kind of equal growth. Actually, it's more growth than even the Shard was this week. Overall, your total price on the legendaries is about $1,700, which is a 75% increase over last week's prices. Pretty crazy. Speaking of crazy, cold foils are all over the place. Last week we had the huge spike in particularly the Majestic cold foils. And I did the same thing here for all the buy it nows. There were a lot of sold listings that were best offer accepted, especially on the rares. And I was able to dig into the source code and pull off these numbers. There were mandible claws sold at around 80. I saw some stuff on Facebook Marketplace too around these prices, some asking prices that were then labeled as sold. This one is the big one right here. This might be the outlier, or it might just be a card that is more played, but that was actually an eBay sold listing for Talishar, the Lost Prince, at $130. So you're looking at an average rare cold foil price between $70 and $110 probably. I would expect these to kind of balance out, and the cards that are more played will kind of always be worth 20% more, but because they're cold foils, I think people are trying to collect full sets and stuff, and that's probably what's driving a lot of the evenness of this marketplace right now. So those are the rares, and then in the Majestics, man, it's been the wild west out there. I know the Wall Street channel of the Discord for Flesh and Blood has been kind of all over the place trying to figure out all these pricings. So these are our sold listings kind of everywhere. All the market data I could gather, lots of movement. Skullhorn, there was one sold. Actually, there was a Crater Fist and a Skullhorn sold together for $500 on eBay. That was yesterday or the day before, maybe. We do have a lot of increased movement here. Particularly, Courage of Bladehold jumped up quite a bit, and there were a few sold listings at kind of this $440 cost. Actually, Courage of Bladehold was the one that there was a weird sell on it. Let me show you. They got a Courage of Bladehold for like $90 right here from Greece on the 20th. This is opposed to kind of these sold listings at the $350 from Canada. The $340 down there. The one that I saw that was $400 was on Facebook actually. It's kind of where they are. The $8.99 is the lowest, so that's kind of it's expensive. It's kind of where the market is moving though, towards that. So I think I saw one listed on Facebook 2 days ago for $440, and that's where I got that price. All these are moving kind of up. Perch grapplers, it seems like this price that hit that $350 last week might have been a little premature. I did see a couple sold at like $190 on Facebook, and that kind of balanced out at around $225. Metacarpus node, everything's moving up. Even these prices that are moving down are, remember, like 3 weeks ago, a Gambler's Gloves was like $60. So, maybe people just overshot last week on this $400 range, and this is now where kind of prices are balancing out. We're seeing some evening. No matter what, cold foil prices, even after the huge spike last week, 32% increase just this week in cold foils. So the market is very confident on the cold foils, and rightfully so, because, they're never going to be printed again. So it'll be interesting to watch it. I would say, though, it'll just keep growing, and then eventually it'll just balance out, and we'll see just a slow 10-15% growth over time. That brings us to Majestics, and man, I'm worried about this one, honestly. First off, the movement is all upwards, pretty much all upwards. We have a couple dollar loss on a mangle, but most of the things last week, I think the average price was $18, right? So that's where we were last week. This is for the rainbow foil Majestics, but we've seen just increases all over the board, kind of like a steady, 30-40% increase, but then all of a sudden the Spoils of War rainbow foil is huge, and this number may actually be wrong from last week. Maybe there was a sold listing that was kind of out of left field, but I can tell you what, though, like Spoils of War was not more than like $30 max last week. Even if I missed something and messed something up, that would have been a winning price before that kind of big announcement or during that big announcement. And man, there was an eBay sold listing for Spoils of War at 140. And I know Spoils of War is like a super great card in probably the most played deck with it, which is Dorinthia. But man, I just think it's a little fast. So here's what I'm talking about is this movement right here is just radical. And this is, $140 sold Spoils of War on the 25th as an auction. And that's what I think is a little bit bizarre is that we haven't seen any other prices tick that high up. So I'm not saying that this is market manipulation, but what I'm going to say is that there are so few rainbow foil Majestics that it would be easy for somebody to speculate on a card like Spoils of War, which is a high played card, and then enter the market and scoop up a lot of prices and be okay with driving the price up because they've already purchased a bunch of copies. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I am just saying that that is something that does happen. And so just be aware of those things. Last week, even 19th is when I pulled the data. So I was right. I missed this data right here on accident. Maybe I just inserted wrong. This should be more like a $30. And I'll go ahead and just change it. Like that sold on the 16th for $30. So this was a more valuable card, almost a 500% increase. So that's just an outlier. I'm not saying it is. It could just be that Spoils of War is super played, and somebody was saying, "Hey, I'm going to target this card and just keep buying them because I like the card," and that's okay. I'm not saying anything bad about people who do that, if that's your thing. But just be aware that this is moving quicker than the rest of them. Don't see this movement and then jump on a heron's flight, right? Because you think that you're going to get the same movement just because it's a Majestic rainbow foil. This card is played by a lot of people. A lot of people want to foil out their decks with first edition cards. Anyway, Coax of Commotion had some decent movement, and then the tome went up as well. So overall, your Majestic rainbow foil went up 74% this week, and your average rainbow is about $35. So let's go on over to the Majestics, talking about speculation. We're going to see a lot of movement. And first off, one of the things I want to say is this movement on a regular Spoils of War doesn't balance out. This trajectory from $9 to $14 doesn't match the $30 to $140 to me. So that's why I'm saying it's not just players. But let's talk about these kind of equipment. And this is another kind of speculation that I think people have, is that all these equipment cards are going to be needed for people, so they have no problem picking them up at a higher price because they have a lot of confidence in the card. And so that's why we've seen a lot of movement in these cards. So hopefully that doesn't affect the market at all. Hopefully these prices are still stable enough that people want to get into playing with these classes still, even though they have to kind of pick up a $60 equipment card. But overall we saw a 27% increase here. And that's what I'm saying. I think, a lot of people see these as more investable as the non-foil Majestics. So maybe that's why we're seeing those prices increase more rapidly. Remember, if they do a cruise set, an unlimited set, you will see these rainbow foils again. They won't be first edition though, and there is a difference for people who are collectors. But don't just. I think we will. I personally think we will eventually see another crew, or we'll see a lot of these cards that are super high, like Spoils of War, will get reprinted eventually. Whether we see that in crew again in an unlimited, or it pops in a different set, eventually you will have an opportunity to get a foil rare, a foil Spoils of War. So if you don't care about the first edition thing, I would just wait, honestly, even if it takes 2 years or so. But if you care about first edition, pick it up. Do what you want to do. It's your money. So here we go. Let's get to the rares. And there was a lot of movement in the rares even. And we have an overall increase of 25% in the foil rares. And a lot of that increase is because of the Springboard Somersault, the Lunging Press, kind of these cards that were printed for the first time in rainbow foil, and their other version doesn't exist in the set. But we are seeing good movement on that as well. And then here's what I was going to say is that there's a lot of rares being sold. So we're starting to see some movement there. There are still some rares that are cheap, and And that what? But, an average price of 79 cents for a rare adds a lot of value if you're thinking about cracking open a box. If you can get, some of those cards back, and if this continues to increase, which, with no unlimited set, I think we will see this stuff just kind of continue to slowly increase. So just keep that in mind if you're cracking a box open. And so now let's get to the estimated value. Again, we kind of went through all these prices. But in a box, you can expect to get, 1 cold foil. You can get 7 Majestics per box, seems to be the average. 2 foil Majestics per box. 41 rares, which now, add some value to it as well. And then those foil rares, you get about 5 a box. And then I have this 1/10 chance at getting a legendary. So let's show you what the box EV is. $577.99. And so I've taken out the legendary. So just remember that if you open 10 boxes, this is kind of what you can expect, because you'll actually hit that legendary, which is a huge factor. But if you're just opening 1 box or just 2 boxes, I would say expect to get more around $400 worth. And of course, it's all kind of dependent on your cold foil at that level. But your average should be around $400. And so last week, that's a huge increase. So this actually, it means a 25% increase in EV since last week, which is pretty awesome. And that is different than the sealed prices, right? So the cards increased by 25%, but the sealed box hasn't quite increased. And again, I think that's because this last batch of product hit the market. So I really honestly would expect that we see Crew rise a good bit next week on the sealed boxes, to be honest with you. Because this price, people are going to start opening the boxes and kind of seeing, as they open, they're going to see, oh man, I hit a cool card, and oh man, I'm open more, and they're getting their value worth. I don't know. I would say, I just think the seal price is going to just keep increasing, as most sealed boxes do, and as we've seen with ARC and with WTR. So anywho, that is the EV chart for Crucible of War. Tomorrow we'll have Arcane Rising, and the next day we'll have WTR. If you're interested in a collection tracker, hit that Patreon. If you're looking for singles, hit up Midtown Merchant. We're just here to have fun and make sure people get cards in the community. And, I've been having a blast on the channel. We did some cool giveaways, and I really appreciate y'all's comments and the fun that we've been having. So make sure you hit subscribe, check it all out. And again, have fun playing this game. It's not just about money, but I just really want to help out collectors to be able to see where prices are going. And, if you're interested in getting some of these cold foils, to be able to see the market and how it's moving and kind of time the market, I think is important. If you're looking to invest and to see some of these cold foils on your table. So hope you're having a great day. Hope you get your mail from the mail guys this week, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.